This is my library running 20 times faster than PyTorch on the same computations. I didn't try and do any fancy optimizations yet. This was just the first test I did to see if my library was slower than PyTorch and by how much. And somehow it was 20 times faster. This led me to two questions. One, how is this even possible? And two, how can I do more and get it even faster? To understand how my library is different, you gotta understand a few things about different programming languages, particularly Python and C. These languages, they're very different in syntax, but under the hood, they're even more different than they are when you look at their syntax. To run C code, you have to compile that file into a binary file that your CPU can read, and then this binary file is saved on your computer so you can run it as many times as you want with a bunch of different inputs, any input you want, as many times as you want, and it can just go straight to the CPU, and the CPU can just start reading it immediately. The way Python works is this guy went in and he was like, C is too complicated, let's make it something simpler. So he wrote a program in C that will open a Python file, which its syntax is pretty similar to English. It's really easy to read and write in. It will open that file, parse the different lines of instructions and figure out what it should do, and then translate that into what's called a Python bytecode, and then run it, and then do a bunch of complex tasks. So if you were to just write A plus B and compile it in C, you'd get back an assembly thing that's a bit more complicated than A plus B, but basically just A plus B. In Python, you'd have to wait a while for A plus B to eventually work. Not only is Python slower because it's not compiled, so you never get a binary file the CPU can read, but rather you're just kind of working with the file and doing a bunch of complex operations to turn it into something the CPU can read every time you run it. But also the syntax of Python makes it so that if you write A equals 5, B equals 6, and then do A plus B, somewhere along the way, the computer's gonna be like, is A a string? I don't think A is a string. Is it a character? No, okay, it's a number. Can it be added to B? Can it, and a bunch of different checks that take a lot of time. But Python had a cool little trick up its sleeve. Because it's built in C already, and the guy who made it was smart enough to make a language and also smart enough to know his language would be slow, he decided to give it a C API where you could very easily write your own extension to Python in C and then wrap it into Python. It takes almost no time, so that you could make C code or even C++ code that can be used in Python just like it's a native Python function, and that's how most Python libraries work. However, a Python package can also just be wrote in regular Python, and then it just ran just like your Python file. It reaches where the function from the package is called, and then it goes to that package's Python file and starts interpreting its Python files, just like if you had a second file in your directory and you imported that into your first file. So it's gonna be as slow as regular Python, but just in the form of a library or a package or whatever you want to call it. For PyTorch, 60% of their library is in Python, and then the rest is in C++, like a library within a library, which means that when you call a PyTorch function, first it goes to Python, does some Python things, and then eventually it manages to make it into C++ and do what would be the hard part of the workload, and then it does the easy part of the workload in Python, but that still takes a lot of time because Python is slow. My library, on the other hand, is 99% C++, which means that when you call a function from my library, you go straight into C++, straight into a binary that the CPU can read, and there's no time being wasted on the Python interpreter trying to figure out what it should be doing. It just goes straight to, these are the instructions, let's get to them. This means that given a small model and a small input, my library has really low overhead, so it starts at a pretty low time place, and PyTorch has much more overhead just because the Python interpreter has to get into the binaries, so it starts with a bit more overhead than my library. However, as the number of samples being passed forward and the size of the network both increase, then PyTorch starts to get faster and faster, and eventually it even passes my library in speed because it can do the dot product work a lot faster than my library can. So the example at the start of the video was really small input, really small model. My library has very low overhead, PyTorch has higher overhead, so my library is like 20 times faster. But now I want to try and get my slope down so that I stay faster than PyTorch, ideally forever, but if not, as long as possible. To do this effectively, I gotta optimize the matrix dot product. The first matrix is gonna have n samples, the number of samples, by the number of outputs of the previous layer. And then the second layer is going to have one dimension be the number of outputs in the previous layer, and then the other dimension be the number of neurons in this current layer. So it's weights by the number of neurons in it. And the way this is calculated, it has to be calculated in either a 3-dimensional loop, a nested loop within a nested loop, or within something that's mathematically equivalent to that. So it takes a really long time, and as models get bigger, this is the only thing that matters in terms of speeding the network and the library up. Here's my first basic approach. There's no crazy optimizations like, oh, this is the best way to do this, but there's also nothing that seems like, oh, this is really dragging this thing down at first glance. I made the C++ test file so that I could give my library a harder test case and test it against itself. And then once we get it really good, I'll put it back up against PyTorch. But for now, we're just going to try and keep improving it. And to start, the bad approach I made probably a year ago got 10 seconds of runtime. The big problem is how I'm loading the data. Normally, if you saw my previous video, you'd know it takes a couple multiplications and a couple additions, and that's all you need to find some kind of data. But in my case, what I'm using my own custom homemade array class. So when I do the first bracket and I go for array at position I, it's going to go into an array class, do some shape checks, and then it's going to create its own custom view. It's not copying any data, it's just a view on the data, but it's still going to create its own object, return that one-dimensional array object, and then it's going to see at position J, go into that new temporary object, look at its position J, go out that far, come back and return that value, and then delete the array once the line of code's done. So there's a lot of constructors and destructors and functions being called for what really just needs to be a couple lines of math. So what I did first was I made an unsafe, it's safe, I just got to check it in the dot product, fast get function that just immediately gets the array from the right point in memory, the data from the memory, with a basic multiplication and addition. Just applying fast get improved runtime from 10 seconds to about 6 seconds. Using the same logic, I made a fast increment and fast set function, which do the exact same thing, but just increment and set data instead of get it. And this was able to get our runtime down from 6 seconds to 3 seconds. Not by doing any optimizations, not doing anything special, just removing code that didn't need to be there. I then decided to remove the wasted runtime of having an actual function call, like creating a new stack, moving around a bunch of registers and stuff, and just switched it to just getting the data directly, all within the same loop. And this improved runtime by about another half second. Next, I need to do something called unrolling the loop. Let's say you have two instructions, A equals A plus B, then A equals A plus C. The CPU will have to wait till A equals A plus B is done because the output of that is the input for the next function, A plus C. So it won't be able to even run until the previous line is done. Now, I can actually take advantage of this by splitting output into 8 different accumulation lanes that all sum into each other at the end. So what I'm basically doing, I'm creating 8 doubles instead of just having the double output. I'm making it so that every loop iteration, you're putting in 8 next values instead of just 1. You're doing the 8 next values, each into its own accumulation thing, so that the CPU doesn't have to wait for any previous addition to be done. And then at the end of the loop, I add 8 to it. And then I got to clean up edge cases for things that aren't completely divisible by 8. So if the matrix has 100 rows, then I do the last 4 at the end. And I got to clean up the edge case of it has less than 8 in total possible rows and columns and just do those linearly. But all in all, I just make a bunch of accumulators, fill them up, and then add them to output at the end. This small change, just unrolling the loop, making my code look way bigger and way uglier, took us from 2.5 seconds down to 0.9 seconds. Finally, I realized that little input saving step, I was doing it on the inside of all the loops when it really only depended on two of the variables, k and j. So I needed that for the backpass, but I just moved it outside of the I loop into its own loop in the k loop. The k is the biggest one, then I, then j, and made its own j loop. And what this did was, because we're now no longer doing this operation an unnecessary amount of times, like if I goes up to 100, we're doing something that only needs to be done once 100 times. This brought us down to half a second of runtime, which from 10 seconds is a 20x improvement on the forward pass. Now the real question is, how does this stack up to my computer's actual potential? Because anyone can write some code and then make more code that runs faster than the code they wrote. But what about if I compare this to good code? So I set up a library called BLAS, which is the main linear algebra library, and its dot product is used in PyTorch, it's linear algebra. It's a very industry standard library, and I had it run against the function we made in this video, and it ran about 30 times faster. The reason for this is BLAS uses SIMD and multi-threading optimizations, which I'm gonna add to the dot product and explain to you guys next video. So subscribe if you want to see that, and thanks for watching.